Captain Aaron Voss had seen many strange things in his years of exploring the far edges of human space, but nothing could have prepared him for the silence that greeted him that day. His ship, the intrepid Dawn, drifted slowly among the jagged asteroids of a sector no one had charted before. The coordinates had come from a faint distress signal, barely detectable even with the sensitive receivers of his ship. There had been no words, no identifying mark, only a single pulse, repeating over and over, like a cry lost in the void. Aaron adjusted his seat and stared at the view screen. The asteroid field stretched endlessly, illuminated by distant stars. Debris floated weightlessly, some pieces no larger than a pebble, others as big as small mountains. He tapped a few commands into the console, and the ship's scanners began sweeping the area. The signal was coming from within the thickest part of the field. "This is not going to be easy," he muttered to himself. The voice in his head, his ever-present companion, reminded him that danger often hid where silence was thickest. But curiosity, that relentless human trait, pushed him forward. As he guided the intrepid Dawn through the field, he felt the subtle vibrations of nearby debris brushing past the hull. The ship's sensors alerted him to movement, objects shifting in ways that suggested intelligence, or at least recent activity. He tightened his grip on the controls. The distress signal pulsed again, a tiny beacon calling him closer, and he realized he was approaching its source. There it was. A vessel, unlike any human design he had ever seen, drifted among the asteroids. Its hull was sleek and curved, iridescent in the faint starlight, but it was clearly damaged. Sections of the outer plating were missing, exposing complex machinery underneath. The ship's lights were dark, and no movement suggested life aboard. Aaron docked cautiously, the intrepid Dawn linking with the alien vessel through a magnetic clamp. He ran the diagnostics. Nothing. The ship's systems were dead. He tried sending a communications signal, both in human code and a few universal frequencies used in previous alien encounters. No response. He suited up and prepared to board. The airlock hissed as it opened, revealing a corridor coated in dust and small debris. The smell of ozone and scorched metal hit him immediately, a warning that whatever had happened here had been violent. He stepped carefully, scanning every corner with his flashlight. Broken equipment, scattered tools, and unidentifiable objects littered the floor. "Stay calm, Aaron," he whispered, though he knew he was already tense. "Just find out what happened here." The ship seemed dead, but something moved in the shadows. A small flicker, almost imperceptible, caught his eye. He froze, focusing his light on a corner of the corridor. There she was, a girl, unlike any human, crouched behind a twisted piece of machinery. Her skin was a soft lavender, and her eyes were wide and reflective, glowing faintly in the darkness. Her hair shimmered like strands of silver, moving slightly even though there was no breeze. She was small, no older than a human child, yet her presence carried a strange weight, an awareness that made Aaron's heart beat faster. "Hey," he said softly, trying not to startle her. "I'm not going to hurt you." The girl flinched but did not run. Her eyes studied him carefully, assessing, judging. She made no sound, only tilted her head as if trying to understand the language he used. He knelt slowly, keeping his hands visible. "Are you alone?" he asked. There was no response, only a quiet tremble in her body. Aaron noticed she clutched something small and metallic to her chest, a device he could not identify. He moved closer, keeping his movements slow and deliberate. "It's okay," he repeated. "I can help you." Finally, she spoke, not in words, but a series of melodic tones rising and falling like wind chimes. Aaron frowned. It was a language he did not know, yet somehow it carried emotion, fear, sadness, and curiosity all at once. He realized that communication would be slow, painstaking. He gestured for her to stand, offering a hand. She hesitated, then cautiously rose. Her movements were graceful, almost fluid, and she seemed to glide rather than walk. Aaron noted the slight scars on her arms and legs, faint but telling. Whoever had attacked this ship had been thorough. He motioned toward the bridge. "Come with me. You're safe here." The girl did not respond directly but followed him. As they walked through the dark corridors, Aaron examined the ship. Broken consoles, empty storage compartments, and scorch marks told a story of a sudden disaster. The ship's logs were wiped clean, as if deliberately erased. In the control room, Aaron set down a portable scanner and began examining the systems. The ship was old, far older than any design he had seen in human space. Its engines were fused, energy cells drained, and the navigation systems offline. Yet the structure of the ship was remarkable, built with a precision that suggested intelligence far beyond human engineering. The girl, who Aaron had decided to call Lyra for now, wandered curiously around the room. She touched the walls, her fingertips glowing faintly where she made contact. Aaron watched in awe as small circuits sparked to life under her touch, flickering briefly before dying again. It became clear that she was not just a survivor. She was connected to the ship in ways he could not yet understand. A sudden sound broke the silence, a faint rhythmic pulse from the ship's core. Lyra froze, her eyes widening. She darted to the console and placed her hands on the central panel. Slowly, the pulse grew stronger, a soft hum filling the control room. Lights flickered on, casting shadows that danced across the walls. The ship was responding to her presence. Aaron stepped back, astonished. You're activating it?" Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes wide. Then she returned her attention to the console, pressing shapes that formed in the air, symbols he could not comprehend. The ship shivered, as though waking from a long sleep. The calm was short-lived. A warning beep sounded from the intrepid dawn. Aaron glanced at his scanner. Multiple unidentified objects were moving toward them, entering the asteroid field. He realized they were not alone. Whoever or whatever had attacked this ship might still be hunting survivors. He turned to Lyra. "We need to move. Can you help me get this ship working?" Lyra hesitated, then nodded slightly. She stepped back to the main console, placing her hands on it again. The symbols glowed brighter, and a holographic map appeared above the panel. Aaron recognized star patterns, but others were completely foreign, alien constellations unknown to human astronomers. "The map. It's pointing somewhere," he said, tracing the paths with his finger. "Is this a place you know?" Lyra's tones filled the room, rapid and melodic. Aaron could not understand, but her gestures were clear. They were heading toward a safe location, a hidden world perhaps, where she could find others like her, or at least a refuge from the hunters. He made a decision. "All right, Lyra. We'll do it together. I'll pilot the ship. You guide me. We'll get out of here." As he prepared to move the vessel, he took a moment to study the girl. Alone, she had survived something no one should have survived. Small, fragile in appearance, yet strong, intelligent, and unafraid in the face of danger. Humanity had always believed it had courage, but now he realized that bravery was not unique to humans. It existed in anyone who refused to give up, even in the cold void of space. He reached out, placing a hand on hers. She did not pull away. For the first time, a connection formed, not just as rescuer and survivor, but as two beings united by circumstance and necessity. The asteroids loomed outside, jagged obstacles in a dangerous path. Aaron felt the familiar thrill of the unknown, the adrenaline that always accompanied the first step into uncharted space. But this time, it was different. He was not alone. Lyra was with him, and together they were about to face dangers neither of them fully understood. As the intrepid Dawn detached from the alien vessel, Aaron glanced at Lyra. She looked back, her expression unreadable yet full of hope. He smiled, a small human gesture. The galaxy was vast and indifferent, but in that moment, they had found a spark, an alliance that might just survive the darkness ahead. The ship drifted into the void, engines silent for now, but with Lyra's guidance, perhaps capable of awakening. Aaron knew the journey would be perilous, the challenges unimaginable, but he felt a surge of pride. Humans had always reached for the stars, and now, perhaps, they could also protect, help, and rise alongside other life forms. And so, they began their journey. Alone in the dead expanse of space, but together, Captain Aaron Voss and Lyra, the alien girl, faced a universe filled with unknown threats, hidden wonders, and the possibility of hope that transcended species. The adventure was only beginning, and the silent wreck that had seemed so lifeless now held the promise of life, of discovery, and of a bond that could change the fate of more than one world. The journey through the asteroid field was far more difficult than Captain Aaron Voss had anticipated. The alien ship, though partially awakened by Lyra's touch, groaned as its systems struggled to maintain stability. Aaron sat at the controls, hands steady but tense, while Lyra hovered near the central console, her glowing fingers tracing symbols that pulsed softly with light. Each symbol seemed to hold meaning, guiding the ship through the dangerous maze of drifting rock. The asteroids moved unpredictably, tumbling slowly, but with deadly potential. Aaron's eyes scanned every sensor, calculating trajectories with precision. His fingers danced over the controls, adjusting thrusters and energy shields, while the alien girl's presence remained calm and unwavering. Somehow she understood the rhythm of the ship, sensing danger before the sensors could even detect it. "Lyra, we're coming up on that cluster," Aaron warned, gesturing at a dense area on the scanner. "I need your help to get us through safely." Lyra tilted her head and placed her hands on the console. A soft hum filled the room, and the ship shivered as if responding to her thoughts. Small lights along the hull flickered and glowed, creating temporary paths through the asteroid field. Aaron followed them, trusting her instinct more than any human calculation. The ship moved smoothly between the rocks, a dance of survival that tested both human skill and alien intuition. Once they cleared the densest area, Aaron let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Good work," he said quietly. Lyra looked up at him, her glowing eyes meeting his with something like approval. It was a moment of quiet camaraderie, brief but significant. In the endless void of space, such moments were rare and precious. He turned back to the console, trying to understand the alien symbols. Some appeared to be navigational markers, while others pulsed in patterns that resembled data streams. He could not read them, but he could see that Lyra understood every nuance. "Do you know where this map leads?" he asked, leaning closer. Lyra responded with a soft series of tones, rising and falling like music. Her hand traced the final path on the holographic map. Aaron studied it carefully. It pointed toward a distant system, far beyond the edges of known human space. Several planets orbited the star, but one in particular was marked with concentric glowing circles. He realized that this was their destination. "Whatever is there, it might be safe," he said aloud, though he wasn't sure if he fully believed it. "Or at least safer than here." The alien girl nodded, her attention already returning to the ship's systems. Aaron watched her work, fascinated. He had faced dangerous creatures, hostile aliens, and rogue human factions, but nothing like this. Lyra's connection to the ship was almost symbiotic. She touched a panel and energy lines pulsed to life. She whispered soft sounds, almost inaudible, and the ship responded as if obeying her. As they traveled, Aaron had time to observe her more closely. She was small, delicate in appearance, yet there was strength in her posture. Her eyes reflected light like polished gemstones, showing intelligence far beyond her apparent age. Her species seemed designed for survival, for adaptation. Humans had always prided themselves on ingenuity and resilience, but in Lyra he saw a different kind of strength. Instinct honed by evolution, quick and precise, yet graceful. Hours passed. The asteroid field thinned, replaced by vast stretches of open space. Aaron allowed himself a moment of reflection. He thought about the dead ship they had found, the abandoned crew, and the signs of struggle that suggested a sudden violent attack. Whoever had caused it was still out there, somewhere in the dark, waiting or hunting. He could feel it like a shadow over his shoulder. Lyra noticed his unease. She reached out and placed her hand over his, a simple gesture, but one filled with reassurance. Aaron looked at her, surprised. This alien child, whose language he did not understand, had found a way to communicate trust. In that moment, he realized that survival was not just about technology or weapons, it was also about connection, empathy, and understanding. "Thank you," he said softly, though she did not need the words. She simply smiled faintly, returning her attention to the console. As they approached the system marked on the map, the ship's sensors picked up anomalies. Energy readings that did not match any known natural phenomena flickered across the screens. Aaron frowned. "Something's not right," he muttered. "Lyra, can you feel it too?" She nodded, her hands hovering over the console. The symbols glowed more intensely, and the ship responded with a low hum. Aaron realized that Lyra was sensing the anomalies, predicting their effect on the ship before they even appeared on the sensors. It was a skill humans could only dream of, a living connection to technology that defied logic. Suddenly, a shadow passed over the ship. Aaron's heart leapt. He checked the sensors and saw faint blips moving at high speed, far too precise to be natural debris. "We're being followed," he said, tension tightening his chest. "I don't know what they are, but they're fast." Lyra's glowing eyes focused on the approaching objects. She traced symbols in the air, and the ship reacted, adjusting shields and propulsion. The shadowing blips mirrored their movements, shifting as if studying them. Aaron realized that these were not random encounters. They were hunters. Someone had found the alien vessel before him, and now they were closing in. "Hang on," he muttered, gripping the controls. The ship shuddered as they performed evasive maneuvers, weaving through asteroid belts and energy anomalies. Lyra guided him with subtle gestures, her abilities compensating for the ship's damaged systems. For the first time, Aaron felt that he was not just piloting a vessel, but partnering with a being whose instincts surpassed even the most advanced human technology. The pursuit lasted hours. Exhaustion weighed heavily on him, but he refused to falter. The alien girl remained calm, her presence a steadying force. Finally, the blips disappeared, as if the hunters had given up, or perhaps decided to wait. Aaron exhaled slowly, realizing that they had survived a trial that would have destroyed most human crews. "Good work, Lyra," he said, allowing himself a small smile. She returned it faintly, a gesture that felt almost human. With the immediate danger past, Aaron focused on the alien ship again. He studied the central console, noting patterns in the symbols and the way the systems responded to Lyra's touch. He realized that the ship was not just a vessel, it was a repository of knowledge, a guardian of something much larger than itself. Whoever had attacked it had wanted to destroy that knowledge, to erase it from existence. "What were they after?" he whispered, mostly to himself. The alien girl tilted her head, her glowing eyes reflecting the same question back at him. He understood that she carried more than memories. She carried responsibility. The survival of her species, or at least the knowledge of them, depended on her. The ship pulsed softly again, and Aaron felt a strange warmth. It was as if the vessel itself acknowledged their purpose. He looked at Lyra and realized that they had become partners not by choice, but by necessity. Together they could navigate the unknown, face dangers, and protect what was left of a species almost erased from the stars. As the distant star of the marked system grew larger on the view screen, Aaron allowed himself a moment of hope. The journey was far from over. Unknown enemies, strange anomalies, and the vast emptiness of space lay ahead. Yet for the first time since he had discovered the wrecked alien ship, he felt a sense of possibility. Humans had always reached for the stars, and now, alongside Lyra, he had a chance to rise to a new level of understanding and courage. "Almost there," he said quietly, more to himself than to Lyra. She leaned closer, watching the approaching system, her hands hovering over the console, ready to guide them through whatever awaited. Aaron realized that survival, in this vast universe, was never just about strength or speed. It was about partnership, trust, and the courage to face the unknown together. The alien girl, small and fragile in appearance, yet strong in ways he could not yet measure, had become the key to more than just the ship's revival. She represented hope, intelligence, and resilience. In the silent expanse of space, she was a reminder that life, in all its forms, could endure, adapt, and rise. Aaron adjusted the ship's thrusters, preparing for entry into the system. The alien girl's fingers traced the final path on the holographic map, the symbols glowing brighter than ever. He understood at last that she was not only guiding the ship, she was guiding him, teaching him to see beyond human limitations. As they neared the first planet, a rocky world with strange colors reflecting in the distant sunlight, Aaron felt a sense of anticipation. The planet seemed untouched, a potential refuge for Lyra and her people's knowledge. Yet he knew that the universe rarely allowed such moments of peace. Danger would come, in one form or another. He could feel it in the subtle tremors of the ship, the faint shifts in the patterns of distant stars. But for now, they had survived. They had each other. And in the vast emptiness of space, that was enough to keep hope alive. The alien girl turned to him, her glowing eyes meeting his. Aaron offered a small smile. Words were not needed. Together they would face the challenges ahead. Together, they would ensure that the dead ship's secrets and the legacy it carried would live on. And as the intrepid Dawn glided toward the unknown planet, Aaron felt a surge of determination. Humanity had always dreamed of the stars. Now he realized they had a chance to protect life beyond their own species, to rise above fear, and to prove that courage, intelligence, and compassion were universal traits, not limited to humans alone. The journey was far from over, but with the alien girl at his side, Aaron knew they could face whatever the galaxy had in store. Together they would survive, discover, and perhaps inspire a new future for both humans and aliens alike. The planet grew larger in the view screen, a strange swirl of colors that no human telescope had ever captured. Aaron Voss adjusted the ship's trajectory, keeping a careful eye on the sensors. The asteroid field behind them was now distant, but the danger was far from over. Whoever had attacked the alien ship before him was still out there, somewhere in the vastness of space, and Aaron knew that their pursuers were relentless. Lyra hovered near the central console, her hands tracing glowing symbols that pulsed like a heartbeat. Each touch seemed to awaken parts of the ship, its systems responding to her in ways Aaron could only describe as magical. She had become the key to navigating the alien vessel, but he sensed that there was more to her abilities than simple guidance. Something deep, something innate, connected her to the ship in ways even he could not fully understand. "Lyra, are you ready?" he asked. "This planet. It may be safe, but we don't know what's waiting for us there." She looked at him, her luminous eyes steady and calm. Then she returned her attention to the console, her fingers dancing over the symbols. The ship's engines hummed in response, stabilizing as they prepared to enter the planet's orbit. Aaron realized that she had become more than a guide. She was the ship's navigator, its connection, its hope. As they descended, the planet's surface came into view. It was covered in jagged mountains and deep valleys, with rivers of shimmering liquid winding through the landscape. Strange forests of tall, crystalline trees glowed faintly in the dim light, and in the distance, massive structures rose like monuments to an ancient civilization. Aaron's breath caught. He had never seen anything like it. "Look at that," he whispered, pointing at the glowing towers. "Someone, or something, built that." Lyra's attention remained on the console, but she turned her gaze toward the structures. Her tones, melodic and urgent, filled the bridge. Though Aaron could not understand her language, the emotion was clear: curiosity, awe, and recognition. Whatever her species had been, they had once called this place home. Aaron guided the ship toward a safe landing area near a wide, flat valley. The surface was stable, and the ship touched down with a gentle thud. Outside, the air shimmered faintly, a mixture of gases unlike any human atmosphere, yet breathable with the ship's environmental filters. The planet was alive, vibrant, yet silent in its own way. As they disembarked, Aaron felt a sense of wonder. The gravity was slightly weaker than Earth's, and his steps felt light. Lyra moved ahead of him, her movements fluid and sure, as if she had walked this ground before. The air was filled with faint, harmonic vibrations, subtle sounds that seemed to resonate with the alien ship they had left behind. "This place, it's incredible," Aaron said, taking in the landscape. "If your people lived here, I can see why. It's like nothing I've ever imagined." Lyra stopped and pointed toward one of the crystal towers. She made a series of tones, then gestured to Aaron to follow. They moved cautiously across the valley, the terrain uneven but navigable. As they approached the tower, Aaron noticed markings on the ground, symbols etched into the crystalline surface. They glowed faintly where Lyra's fingers passed over them. "These are important," he said aloud. "I don't know what they mean, but they're reacting to her presence." Lyra nodded, her attention focused. She touched the markings with both hands, and the tower before them began to hum. Light flowed along the edges of the structure, forming patterns that resembled maps or diagrams. Aaron realized that the planet itself, or at least parts of it, contained technology far beyond human understanding. Before he could study further, a movement caught his eye. Shadows shifted in the distance, larger than any human, moving with purpose. Aaron tensed, reaching for his sidearm, but Lyra held up a hand. Her eyes glowed brighter, and she stepped forward, as if daring the approaching figures to come closer. The shadows resolved into beings, tall, armored, and alien in design. Their weapons glinted in the dim light, and their movements were precise, calculated. Aaron recognized them instantly as the pursuers from the asteroid field. Whoever had attacked Lyra's ship before had tracked them to this planet. "Lyra, we need to move," he shouted. She ignored him, her focus on the markings and the glowing patterns of the tower. Then she raised her hands, and a pulse of light shot from the tower, forming a barrier between them and the approaching enemies. The attackers hesitated, scanning the sudden light with caution. Aaron realized that the planet was defending them, or perhaps Lyra was activating something ancient, something that had been waiting for her return. He felt a surge of pride and awe. Humanity had always believed in courage and ingenuity, but now he saw that intelligence, instinct, and bravery were universal traits, not limited to humans alone. The attackers adjusted their formation and advanced again. Aaron fired a few warning shots, but his weapons were ineffective against the barrier. Lyra's hands moved in complex patterns over the markings, and the barrier strengthened. The attackers stopped, unable to breach the energy that now surrounded them. "Keep it up, Lyra!" Aaron shouted. "We're counting on you!" The alien girl's tones rose, a melodic sequence that resonated with the planet itself. The ground trembled slightly, and the air shimmered with energy. Aaron could feel it, a pulse that seemed to travel through the soil, through the air, and into his very bones. The attackers looked unsettled, as if the world itself had turned against them. Suddenly, a figure detached from the group of enemies. It was larger, more commanding, and its presence radiated authority. Aaron's pulse quickened. He recognized this as the leader, the one who had orchestrated the attack on the alien ship. The figure gestured, and the attackers hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Lyra's focus intensified. The barrier expanded, forming a dome of shimmering light around them. The leader raised its weapon, and a beam of energy struck the barrier, but it held firm. Aaron watched in awe as the alien girl's powers, whatever their origin, protected them both. "Lyra, I don't know how you're doing this, but thank you," he said, his voice filled with admiration. She looked at him briefly, her glowing eyes meeting his, and for a moment, there was understanding. She was not just defending herself. She was defending the legacy of her people, the knowledge stored in the dead ship, and now, the promise of survival for both their species. The attackers retreated slowly, realizing that they could not overcome the combined power of the alien girl and the planet's energy. Aaron lowered his weapon but remained alert. Lyra continued to guide them toward the tower. Inside, the structure was vast and filled with technology that seemed alive. Light flowed along conduits embedded in the crystalline walls, forming patterns that pulsed with a rhythm like a heartbeat. Aaron followed Lyra as she moved confidently, her hands touching panels and markings that lit up in response. "This place, it's a library," he realized aloud, "a repository of knowledge. Your people, they stored everything here." Lyra's tones confirmed his thought. She moved to a central console, placing her hands on it. Images and symbols filled the air, forming holographic representations of ships, planets, and data streams. Aaron watched in amazement. The alien civilization had been advanced beyond anything humanity had encountered. Their ships, their technology, their understanding of the universe, it was staggering. "Lyra, we need to preserve this," he said urgently. "If your people's enemies find this, it could all be lost." She nodded, her focus unwavering. Together, they began to access the data, copying crucial information onto portable storage devices from the intrepid Dawn. Aaron marveled at her skill, her ability to understand and operate technology that no human could ever hope to master. Hours passed. The sun of the alien planet dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the crystalline landscape. Outside, the attackers had not returned, at least for now. Inside, Aaron and Lyra worked tirelessly, preserving the legacy of a species almost erased from the stars. At one point, Aaron paused, looking at the alien girl. "You know," he said softly, "humans always think we're the only ones who fight for survival, who dream of reaching the stars. But watching you, I realize we're not alone in that." Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes reflecting the console lights. She reached out, touching his hand briefly. It was a gesture of trust and connection, a silent agreement that they would face whatever came next together. As night fell on the planet, Aaron felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. Humanity had always sought to explore, to survive, to rise above challenges. Now he understood that these traits were universal, shared by all intelligent life that refused to surrender to fear. The alien girl, small and seemingly fragile, had proven stronger than most humans. Her courage, her knowledge, her instinct, they were awe-inspiring. Aaron realized that the future depended not only on human strength but on cooperation, trust, and the willingness to protect life beyond one's own species. Finally, the data transfer was complete. Lyra stepped back from the console, her work finished. Aaron checked the portable storage devices, confirming that they had preserved the essential knowledge of her people. It was a victory, but a cautious one. The attackers had retreated for now, but they would return. "We need to be ready," he said. "They'll come back." Lyra nodded. She placed her hand on his shoulder briefly, then moved toward a side corridor. Aaron followed, knowing that the journey was far from over. The planet held secrets, dangers, and perhaps allies. They would need to explore further to ensure that this knowledge, this legacy, would survive. As they ventured deeper into the crystalline towers, Aaron felt a sense of awe and responsibility. Humans had always dreamed of the stars, of exploring and protecting. Now he realized that their mission extended beyond themselves. With Lyra by his side, he would rise to the challenge, facing dangers, learning, and discovering that courage and intelligence were qualities that united all life in the universe. The night on the alien planet was quiet, but full of potential. Stars glittered above, distant yet close enough to remind him of the vastness of space. The ship lay ready, the data preserved, and the alien girl at his side. Together, they would face the future, no matter how uncertain, no matter how dangerous. The journey was far from over, and the legacy of a species almost lost depended on their strength, courage, and unity. Aaron glanced at Lyra, and for the first time, he felt a deep sense of respect and admiration. Humanity had always believed in itself, but now he knew that the future required more than pride and determination. It required partnership, understanding, and the willingness to rise together. And so, they prepared for the next phase of their journey, aware that the universe held challenges beyond imagination, but confident that together they could survive, protect, and perhaps inspire a new era of cooperation among the stars. The alien planet's twin moons cast pale light over the crystalline towers as Captain Aaron Voss and Lyra moved cautiously through the corridors. The attackers had not returned, but Aaron knew it was only a matter of time. Whoever had destroyed the alien ship and hunted Lyra before would not give up. They had witnessed her power, her ability to awaken the ship and protect herself, and they would be back, stronger and more determined. Lyra paused at a central chamber, her glowing eyes scanning the symbols along the walls. Aaron followed, noting the intricate designs etched into the crystalline surfaces. Each line, each pattern, seemed alive, resonating with energy that he could almost feel in his bones. The alien girl moved closer to a central pedestal, placing her hands on a circular panel. Light spread outward, forming a holographic map that projected into the room. Aaron stepped closer, studying it carefully. This is incredible," he whispered. "It's not just a map. It's a guide, a star chart, showing locations far beyond our exploration, and it looks like it's showing hidden worlds, safe havens for your people." Lyra's melodic tones filled the chamber. Though Aaron could not understand the words, the emotion was clear: urgency, hope, and determination. She was telling him that their mission was not only survival, but also protection. These worlds could become refuges, preserving her species' knowledge and legacy. Suddenly, the sensors on the Intrepid Dawn, which had been docked nearby, beeped urgently. Aaron's heart skipped a beat. Shadows moved along the planet's horizon, ships approaching fast, cutting through the atmosphere with precision. The attackers had returned, larger in number and more heavily armed than before. "Lyra, we need to move! Now!" he shouted. The alien girl's fingers danced over the symbols. A pulse of energy radiated through the chamber, creating a protective barrier. The attacker's weapons struck it, beams of energy bouncing harmlessly off the glowing shield. Aaron watched in awe as the planet itself seemed to respond to Lyra's presence, as if recognizing its long-lost protector. "They won't break through," he said, almost to himself. "But we can't stay here forever." Lyra stepped back from the pedestal, turning toward him. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever, filled with determination. She gestured for Aaron to follow, leading him through a series of corridors that opened onto a landing platform. The intrepid Dawn awaited, ready for flight. As they boarded, Aaron began the preparations for departure. The alien girl guided him, pointing to the symbols on the ship's console that he had learned to recognize. With her assistance, the ship hummed to life, its engines thrumming with renewed energy. The barrier of light faded just as they lifted off, ascending toward the sky with the attackers in pursuit. The chase was immediate. The enemy ships cut through the atmosphere, firing beams of energy that left streaks of light in their wake. Aaron maneuvered the intrepid Dawn with precision, relying on both his human instincts and Lyra's guidance. She tapped panels, tracing symbols that pulsed in rhythm with the engines, increasing their speed and stability. "We can outrun them," Aaron said, though he was not entirely sure. "We just need to reach open space." The alien girl's tones were urgent, melodic, and precise. Her hands moved over the console in a series of complex gestures, and the ship responded. Thrusters adjusted, shields strengthened, and energy flows redirected. The attackers fired relentlessly, but the combination of human skill and alien intuition kept the intrepid Dawn ahead. As they cleared the planet's atmosphere, Aaron allowed himself a brief moment to look back. The crystalline towers glimmered faintly, still active, still alive in some sense. Lyra's people had left a part of themselves here, a legacy that could survive if protected. He realized that this was more than a mission. It was a responsibility. The survival of knowledge, of history, of an entire species depended on their actions now. In the expanse of space, the enemy fleet pursued them relentlessly. Their ships were fast, well-coordinated, and heavily armed. Aaron adjusted the controls, weaving through asteroid clusters and debris fields, hoping to use the terrain to their advantage. Lyra guided him, her glowing hands tracing paths that seemed impossible to follow. Yet with each pulse, the ship responded, moving with a fluidity that defied human expectations. "You're amazing," Aaron said quietly, though he knew she could not understand the words fully. "I've never seen anyone control a ship like this." She glanced at him briefly, then returned her focus to the console. Aaron realized that words were not necessary. Trust had formed between them, a bond forged in the danger and silence of space. Humans had always relied on courage and intellect, but now he understood that cooperation with beings of other species could achieve feats far beyond what he had ever imagined. The attackers fired a coordinated strike, and one of their beams hit the hull of the intrepid Dawn. Alarms blared, lights flickered, and Aaron fought to stabilize the ship. Lyra's hands moved over the symbols again, and a pulse of energy surged through the hull. The ship shivered, but it held together. They were not just surviving, they were fighting with a combined strength neither species could achieve alone. Aaron made a split-second decision. He guided the ship toward a dense asteroid field, hoping to lose their pursuers among the rocks. Lyra traced patterns in the air, directing the ship through narrow passages with precision. The enemy ships followed but collided with debris and were forced to break formation. One by one, they fell behind, unable to navigate the treacherous terrain. "Good work," Aaron said, allowing himself a small smile. Lyra returned the gesture faintly, her glowing eyes meeting his. The moment was brief, but it reminded him why they were fighting, not just for survival, but for the preservation of life, knowledge, and hope. Once clear of the asteroid field, Aaron plotted a course for a distant system indicated on the alien map. The planet they had landed on was safe for now, but more importantly, it had revealed the existence of other worlds where Lyra's species' knowledge could survive. The journey ahead would be long, but he felt confident. Together, they could protect this legacy. Hours passed in tense silence. The intrepid Dawn glided through the void, Lyra guiding the ship with uncanny precision. Aaron monitored the sensors, noting no signs of pursuit, but remaining vigilant. The alien girl had taught him patience, focus, and trust in instincts that were beyond human understanding. As they approached the coordinates of the hidden world, a massive celestial object came into view. It was a planet with thick clouds, oceans of deep blue, and continents untouched by exploration. Aaron felt a surge of hope. This could be a sanctuary, a place where knowledge and life could endure safely. Lyra's hands moved over the console, and the ship responded, descending toward the planet's surface. The air was different, yet breathable with the ship's filters. The landing was smooth, and the landscape revealed vast plains, tall mountains, and rivers that sparkled in the sunlight. It was untouched, a world waiting to be discovered and protected. "Here," Aaron said softly. "This can be our new home. Or at least, a place to preserve what needs to survive." Lyra touched the ground lightly, her glowing fingers leaving faint trails of energy. She walked toward a nearby hill, scanning the surroundings. The planet responded subtly, as if acknowledging her presence. Aaron realized that these worlds were designed to interact with beings like Lyra, to protect and nurture life that carried knowledge worth saving. Together, they explored the area, marking locations for storage, safe zones, and observation points. Aaron realized that they were not just surviving. They were laying the foundation for a new future, a legacy that could endure beyond the immediate danger of their enemies. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the plains, Aaron took a moment to reflect. Humans had always reached for the stars, driven by curiosity, courage, and the need to survive. Now, he understood that these qualities were not limited to humans. Lyra, small and seemingly fragile, had shown him a strength that surpassed fear, an intelligence that complemented human ingenuity, and a courage that inspired him. He looked at her, and for the first time, he felt a deep sense of gratitude and respect. "We did it," he said quietly. "We survived. And we're going to make sure this knowledge survives too." Lyra turned toward him, her glowing eyes reflecting the fading light. She made a series of tones, melodic and gentle. Aaron could not understand the words, but the meaning was clear: acknowledgement, trust, and a promise of partnership. The stars above shimmered, distant yet close enough to remind them of the vastness of the universe. The journey had been perilous, full of danger and uncertainty, but it was not over. There would be more challenges ahead, more enemies, and more obstacles. Yet Aaron felt ready. With Lyra by his side, he knew that together they could face anything the galaxy threw at them. As night fell, they set up temporary shelters, using the alien technology and the ship's resources to secure their position. Aaron monitored the skies, while Lyra prepared to interact with the planet's systems. The air was calm, filled with a subtle energy that resonated with life and hope. "This is only the beginning," Aaron thought. "We have survived the worst, but now we must rise, protect, and ensure that what we've saved endures." The alien girl, small but powerful, stood beside him. Together, they looked out at the horizon, knowing that the universe was vast, filled with dangers and wonders alike. Humanity had always sought to rise above challenges, and now Arin understood that rising meant more than survival. It meant protecting, learning, and cooperating with others to preserve life and knowledge across the stars. As the night deepened, a gentle pulse of energy spread from the planet, reaching toward the stars. Arin felt it, a reminder that life, in all its forms, could endure. And with Lyra at his side, he knew that they had the power, the courage, and the intelligence to shape a future worth fighting for. The journey had begun with a dead ship and a frightened alien girl, but it had led to something greater: hope, partnership, and the chance to rise together. Humanity had always believed in itself, but now Arin realized that the strength to survive and thrive came from unity, understanding, and the willingness to protect life beyond one's own kind. The stars awaited them, vast and infinite, and the adventure was only beginning. Together, Arin and Lyra would rise, ensuring that the legacy of her people and the spirit of humanity would endure across the galaxy.